title of my talk today is The Way It Is. And I'd like to start with a quote from a book that I've been quoting a lot from in my talks lately, entitled, After the Ecstasy, the Laundry. The wise heart is at peace with the way things are, no longer struggling against the world or lost in it. We rest. We become, like the saying of the Tao, content with the changing of the seasons. The occasions, the moments you realize that your life is fine, just fine, as it is, thank you, can be so stunning, so liberating. Then savoring and actually testing and tasting the present moment of experience. How much more complex and multifaceted, how unfathomable. In this is found a joy, ease, simplicity, and courage. So he says we become like the Tao, and some of you don't know what that is, but the Tao Te Ching is an ancient spiritual teaching. It's very practical and down to earth. Content with the changing of the seasons. One time I asked my class, what is your favorite season? And several people said spring because of the renewal and energy, and it kind of reminds us how everything's got the capacity to bloom again, even if it looks like it doesn't have that ability. Some people said they loved summer. They just loved the heat. They just craved it. And as soon as it got cold, they were unhappy. Some people said they loved the winter with the fog and the mystery and the coolness. Everybody had a different opinion about which season was their favorite and why. Some people loved fall because it came with the relief from the heat of the summer. Content with the changing of the seasons. And really this has a larger import. How many of you are content with exactly the way things are right now? Don't answer all at once. I wanted to look up the dictionary definition of contentment. And it said, not inclined to complain or to desire something else. Accepting. Freedom from worry or unsatisfied desires. Ease of mind. Isn't that wonderful? Let me just repeat that again. Not inclined to complain or to desire something else. Accepting. Freedom from worry or unsatisfied desires. And ease of mind. How difficult is it sometimes to be at peace with the way things are? We have a tendency to always want more, to always want better, and sometimes always want different. And especially here, where we are reminded in the West that there's so much more always. All you have to do is look at a few advertisements and find out that you are not okay without the latest shoes, clothes, boyfriend, body size, eyeliner. There's just so many things that we are being manipulated to desire. And contentment means not desiring something else than what is. In 2007, a man by the name of Will Bowen published a book entitled A Complaint-Free World. How many of you are aware of that book? Yeah. The challenge was for 21 days to become aware of how often we complain. And he even created a purple wristband. Some of you still have that purple wristband. And you were supposed to change this elastic wristband from one wrist to the other every time you caught yourself complaining about anything. And some of us found ourselves going back and forth so many times that we just snapped ourselves with it. We did, as a congregation, we participated in that practice here a number of years ago. How many still have their purple bracelets? There was a comedian by the name of Lily Tomlin. I don't know how many of you remember her. She was on all kinds of shows, but she once said, man created language to satisfy his deep need to complain. Yeah, many people are an ouch looking for a hurt. If you cry ouch, the hurt will show up. If you complain, you'll receive more to complain about. It's the law of attraction in action. When we complain, we are saying something is wrong. When we complain often, we live in a state of something is wrong. I think those are pretty profound words from Will Bowen's book, A Complaint-Free World. When we complain, we are saying something is wrong. When we complain a lot, when we complain often, we live in a state of something is wrong. Complaining is epidemic in our world. Some people do not know how to start a conversation without complaining about something. I've caught myself doing it. I don't know what to say, so I'll say, oh, it's been so hot. Especially if I say a perfect, ready-made complaint for you. And, for at least 4 months of the year. And then, the other person says, oh, yeah, I can hardly stand it. I can't wait for, and now you've got a conversation started. And what was the jump start of it was a complaint. Sometimes we start our conversations with a complaint because we don't know what else to say. So complaining is talking actually about what you do not want rather than what you do want. And our thoughts create our life, and our words indicate what we are thinking about. Put another way, whatever you articulate, you demonstrate. Whatever you articulate, you demonstrate. That means your words have the power to become your reality. And your words start with your thoughts. So sometimes we have to work to become aware of what we are thinking. It just kind of goes on helter-skelter, naturally, that like a movie that never stops, and round it goes, and round it goes. And we have to become aware. What film are we showing on that thought film? We are a philosophy that believes that by changing your thought, you can change your life. Now, that sounds really simple. But first, you have to become aware of your thought, what the tendency of your thought is. In your thought, are you complaining? In your track, I call it a little track, round and round it goes. And what complaints are you habitually hearing in your mind? What people, what events, what things cause you to get into a negative round and round you go circle? Have you ever stayed up all night worrying about something? Have you ever stayed up all night thinking about something that somebody did that you didn't like? Have you ever had somebody say something to you and that jump-started a conversation that you wish you had had with that person? You wish you had the comeback that would have stopped them short or put them in their place or told them, what they needed to do, how they needed to think, how they needed to be. Yeah, we all go through that. There are times that we need to process what's going on with us, what's going on in our lives, in order to get a better handle on things. But processing and complaining are two completely different things. Processing is sharing your feelings about something that has happened. But it is not rehashing the events over and over and over. At one time, when I was going through a divorce, a really painful divorce, I used to just buttonhole anybody that would listen about and tell them the sad story of my life. And I told it as frequently as I possibly could. And I used to see people start backing away as if they were looking for a quick exit from this conversation. Yeah, we have to become aware. Are you rehashing the same old stories over and over, the sad story of who did you wrong, or how life is mean to you, what you don't have, what you wish had happened? Yeah, that's rehashing. Processing has to do with expressing your feelings and kind of getting them out. We encourage people to do journaling so that you have a place where you can write your feelings out as intensely as you wish and kind of be able to take a look at them, see what is going on. Or we have what we call licensed practitioners. Those are people who are trained to see the beautiful, fabulous truth about you, regardless of the current story of suffering that you may be going through, and to help lift your energy into a new and wonderful way of thinking about your possibilities in life. So we have to become aware. There's a wonderful book. It's quite deep. It's a psychological book called Care of the Soul by Thomas More. The people who are training to be practitioners are required to read this book. He says, Thomas More says, it's usually best when caring for the soul to sit with what there is and to let your imagination move instead of making empty wishes or attempting heroic changes. I think this is a very important point, just to sit with what is. Sit with what there is. And instead of wishing things were different, instead of moaning and groaning about how things should be, how they could be, how they would be if only it wasn't for so-and-so or such and such, to sit with what is peacefully and to let your imagination move. I love this because he talks about usually what we're experiencing is not reality. It is our interpretation of reality. There's a wonderful saying, and I think it's very true. We don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. And so many times, any kind of meaningful change involves changing the way we see the world, changing our attitude, changing the way in which we interpret events, or the way in which we set ourselves up to be disappointed. It is up to us to imagine a better experience of life. Now, I love this word imagine, and I want to share something. I think I've shared it before, maybe a couple of times, but it bears repeating. When the caterpillar is crawling on the branch along very slowly, there comes a moment when discontentment sets in, or something, and he crawls into a cocoon. Maybe that's his way of saying, the heck with it. I'm tired of crawling along this. I'm tired of going so slow. Anyway, he crawls into his cocoon, and the structure of the caterpillar actually begins to break down. The old form dies, and something that scientists call imaginal cells. Isn't that interesting? This is a scientific term. Imaginal cells begin to build the new structure. The butterfly. I think that's so wonderful. You know, Helen Keller once said, "Why crawl when you can soar?" Now, for those of you who don't know who Helen Keller was, she was born deaf, dumb, and blind. And she became one of the greatest and most famous philosophers and orators in America. Why crawl when you can soar? So your life may be feeling a little bit like crawling, like you're just struggling, you're just barely getting by. But instead of complaining, it's important for you to set those imaginal cells into motion. The imaginal cells build the butterfly. And when the butterfly first climbs out of his cocoon, he's all wet. He can't fly. He's just sitting there going, what the heck just happened? You know? He has a completely new form to deal with. But at some point, he begins to stretch his wings. They begin to dry out. He even begins to flap them. He starts saying, I wonder what these are for. And he starts to imagine. And before you know it, he's soaring. He's soaring. Where once he was crawling, he is now soaring. Where once he was a creature bound to a branch, he is now a creature of the air. Such a wonderful image, such a wonderful lesson in nature for us. So it is up to us to imagine what could be, not wishful thinking, and certainly not resignation. Contentment To be content with the changing of the seasons simply means be where you are. And to be at ease with what is. That's the starting point. And then through the imagination, through imagining and talking about and celebrating what could be, we gradually grow into that. There's a wonderful book by Thich Nhat Hanh. I don't know how many of you know who that is. Thich Nhat Hanh is a Vietnamese monk, Buddhist monk. He just barely escaped from Vietnam at the end of the war with his life. And he went on to create a place called Plum Village in France, where he teaches peace. He teaches how to attain and sustain peace of mind. In his book, he says we often become so busy that we forget what we are doing or even where we are. I know someone who says he even forgets to breathe. We forget to look at the people we love and to appreciate them until it is too late. Even when we have some leisure time, we don't know how to get in touch with what's going on inside and outside of ourselves. So we distract ourselves by too much TV, telephoning, as if we might be able to escape from ourselves. To meditate is to be aware of what's going on in our bodies, our feelings, our minds, and in the world. When we settle into the present moment, we see beauties and wonders right before our eyes. A newborn baby, the sun rising in the sky. We can be very happy just by being aware of what is in front of us. You know, that's nice, that's pleasant, but how? How do you do it? How do you stay in the present moment, being content and yet full of imagining? He has created some wonderful ways of doing this. He calls them verses. And so he wrote verses for every possible thing. Everything from waking up, to cleaning the toilet, washing the car. And it's a cute little verse. It's an attitude, actually. So for instance, I'm going to share a couple. Here's one for waking up. Waking up this morning, I smile. 24 new hours are before me. Brand new. I vow to live fully in each moment and to look at all beings with the eyes of compassion. Isn't that a wonderful way to start your day? Yeah, waking up this morning, I smile. Everybody say that. Waking up this morning, I smile. 24 brand new hours are before me. I vow to live fully in this moment. And to look at all beings with the eyes of compassion. Yeah, I was looking through some of these. Here's a great one. Washing your hands. You don't have to say this one, but I'm just going to share the way to think. Imagine a new way to think. He says, washing your hands. Water flows over these hands. May I use them skillfully to preserve our precious planet. It's a completely different way to think about washing your. How about brushing your teeth? Did you know that there is a positive thought about brushing your teeth? Brushing my teeth and rinsing my mouth, I vow to speak purely and lovingly. When my mouth is fragrant with right speech, a flower blooms in the garden of my heart. I love this book. Every time I brush my teeth, I'm going to think that. You know, Thich Nhat Hanh amused me highly by saying, he was talking about how to stop complaining. And he was talking about being grateful for everything, blessing everything. And one time he said, be grateful for your non-toothache. I thought that was the greatest thing in the world because for years I had horrible, horrible tooth problems. I mean, just torture. I lived in the dentist chair. And so then I got false teeth. And I went around saying, I'm so grateful for my non-toothache. Yeah, there are a lot of things that are not going wrong right now in your life. If you really take time to think about what's not going wrong, you can be grateful for your non-toothache. You can be grateful that you can stand up, that your legs are serving you, that your heart is still beating, that your lungs are, without you even thinking about it and concentrating on it, they are inhaling and exhaling. So we need to learn how. We need to teach the mind to think thoughts that are creating the best possible atmosphere and experience for us. Affirmations do this. You found a little affirmation glued to your yellow card. Jennifer says she takes those with her. I have them pasted to my computer, in my car, on my study table. Affirmations, songs. Grateful for the morning. Great song when you get up in the morning. Yeah, grateful for the sunshine on my face. Grateful for the feeling. Sure, you can start your day with complaining. Oh, my aching back. Or, oh, today I have to pay all my bills. I don't know if I have enough money. Or, doggone that phone company. They cut me off again because I haven't paid my bill in 3 months. How dare they? Or you can start with a positive idea. Something where you bless something, where you express your gratitude to something or someone. You can take this little book and get it still. I think it's on the market. Present moment, wonderful moment. Verses for every possible thing that you could think about doing in a day. That will just take you to the extreme of gratitude. You can read a Creative Thought magazine meditation. We have these for sale in our bookstore, by the way. Each month we get a new Creative Thought magazine. And in the magazine are beautiful affirmative prayers written in the first person for each day. I want to read the one for today. I thought it was so good. It starts off with a quote from the Bible, Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And then it says this. One Spirit runs in and through all existence. One Spirit is everywhere present. It is all-powerful and all-knowing. I recognize this one Spirit in everything I taste, touch, and feel. I live, breathe, and have my being immersed in, surrounded by, and empowered by this one Spirit. I know God in the physical world. I know God in the spiritual world. I know God in the mental world. God is all there is, and all there is God. As I know God, God knows me. God and I are one. I am reawakened in body, mind, and soul. I am alive with the vitality of spirit. I am renewed through the spiritual rebirth of my very being. I am reawakened to my true self and my real nature. I give great thanks for my reawakened being. I give thanks for the renewal of my mind. I appreciate the rebirth of me to me. I am grateful for all that I have, all that I am, and all that I will ever be. I release this word to the law and know it is done, and so it is. Wow, that's powerful. Yeah, you could just kind of keep it by your bed, wake up and read that and start marching around your room. I am grateful for this. I am blessing that. Wonderful. Such a great tool. I'd like you to try out a certain attitude with me. Say, as I go among people, I know that the presence of pure spirit is within me and blesses everyone I meet, tends to heal everything I touch, and brings gladness into the life of everyone I contact. I am a blessing to myself, to humankind, and to every day in which I live. Ooh, isn't that a good way to think about yourself? So wonderful. I'm a blessing to everyone I meet. I tend to heal everything I touch, and I bring gladness into the life of everyone I contact. I am a blessing to myself, a blessing to humankind, and a blessing to every day in which I live. I just love that. I think that is powerful. So I'm going to give you the key to bliss. B is bless everything and everyone. L is learn. Learn to be at peace with what is. I is imagine. Let your imagination create wonderful scenarios instead of imagining more struggle and pain. S is slow down. In order to really, truly savor what is good in your life, what is beautiful in your life, you got to slow down. And the other S is to savor. Savor the good. So B is bless. Everybody say that. B for bless. L for learn. I for imagine. S for slow down. S for savor. Bliss. May you enter into the bliss of spirit and all of its richness that is there for you. And so it is.